We are about to travel to.
Hey, can we do this? We're going to travel in time. Don't stop. We're going to travel in time. Do you remember Wayne's World? That's what we're going to do. You ready?
They've been doing the Uber Eats commercials a lot lately.
All right, here we go. It's coming at you. We're going to the future, Kinsley.
We are about to travel through time. I'm going to tell you who said this. Nothing can happen for decades, and then decades can happen in weeks.
Welcome to the Dos Marco Show with Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn, where mattress and furniture leaders gather to grow, get the inside scoop, tell stories, and take tequila shots.
Uno, dos, tequila!
Welcome aboard. Here's your passport to a planet filled with the mattress industry's brightest minds and biggest ideas. Meet your guides.
I'm Mark Kinsley, President and CEO of Englander.
And I'm Mark Quinn, co-founder of Spink & Co. and VP of Sherwood Bedding.
Together, they are Dos Marcos.
The galaxy's greatest mattress podcast has liftoff in 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
You know how good my dog Buster is. He's the best dog.
He's a great boy. The best. Love him. So sweet.
So sweet. I mean, you could take him into Lowe's and take him off the leash, and he'll just follow you around, and he's just the sweetest dog that we've ever had. And then meanwhile, this past week, Jonesy got a shock collar, and I haven't even used it yet.
So what? Okay. So why did you get Jonesy a shock collar? What was he doing that was so bad? Just because he ate one set of your headphones, now you're going to restrict this dog into electrocution?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that. That's I think that they call that the Cliff Notes version. But I haven't even used it yet, but it has 3 settings. You have a beep, and you have a vibration, and then you have an actual static shock that you can dial up or down the volume depending on how resilient your animal is. I can't bring myself to do it. But I read up on the internet, or I saw a video on YouTube about how to actually use the 3 different settings. And so what I've done is we're trying to work on his aggressive barking every time anybody's outside. And then he's terrible on a leash. And we've worked on heel and everything. We work on it very consistently. So I found that instead of going straight to like the static shock, you can make it beep. Mm-hmm. And then after you beep, you give the command and you do the beep, and then you give him a treat. And so, for example, his word for stop barking is enough. And so if he barks a couple of times, I'm cool with that because he wants to defend his little property. Okay. So I let him do it a couple of times. Then I say, beep, enough, treat. So now he's associating the beep with something positive. And then when we go out on the trail and he's, going all over the place, we walk in this graveyard, and the other day he gets some piece of graveyard sushi, which I think would be a cool name for a band, Graveyard Sushi.
I like it.
Yeah. And so anyway, he's coming along, but we got the beep, and I did the vibrate thing the other day, and he's like, where's that coming from? Where is that? But not the static shock yet. So I just can't bring myself to doing too much of a softie.
Yeah. I think there's a flawed piece to your strategy here.
Fill me in.
Has it ever dawned on you that this could very easily turn into something that Tara decides would be good for you to try? Put this shock collar on you if dinner's not done, or you're not picking your clothes up and you're throwing them at the hamper, but they land just short and you don't. Have you ever considered that she might try the whole system out on her husband?
Here's what I do know. Whenever I'm doing what she says, life is so much better.
Does she give you treats?
Here. Yeah, she actually cooks.
She's
an amazing cook. And so she does that. I'm like, I will just keep doing the right thing as much as I possibly can. And I'm sure that there are times that I don't know about when I'm doing the wrong thing, which is probably pretty frequently. She's a patient woman. We'll put it like that.
Yeah, I think Bridget would really favor the shock part, not the treat part, right? It's like reinforcement of like, the whole, didn't Cliff Clavin in Cheers, they put him with a shot collar or something at one point. That was hilarious. But anyway, all right. Well, good. I mean, take it easy on Jonesy. He's a sweet dog too.
He's just a little hyper, but he's got to learn, because I like taking him out in public. I would love to take him to some place like Nationwide's primetime. I know it's maybe not the most dog friendly place, but just to have him around and go out in public would be nice. Even just going to the brewery. And we're not going to be at the physical primetime, March 16th through the 18th, but we're going to be a virtual primetime again. And one of the cool things, it's happening over St. Patrick's Day, and somebody's going to win a pot of gold. There is a surprise celebrity guest, which we are going to announce on the show on March 8th. So make sure and click your little subscribe button if you're listening to your podcast on your app, or get signed up for our newsletter.
And we know who it is, and we can't tell anyone who it is, but I'll tell you this, he's legit. He's a real celebrity, and he's a great talent.
Yeah. And then the cool thing about that is there are other celebrities that are going to join us on that show, because coming up on March 8th, it's our 200th episode of the Dos Marcos show. So we're super excited about that. But hey, check it out. Like nationwideprimetime.com, go over there, get signed up. Virtual primetime is going to happen. We've got all kinds of extensions of Mattress University. Now they're going to have furniture forum to go with that. We're talking about consumer shopping journeys through digital marketing and websites. We're talking about brick and mortar with Bob Munkle. Jennifer Danko is doing that first session.
And our boy.
Yeah, Bobby Munkle.
No, well, he's one of our boys, but another one of our boys is Chad Fisher.
Chad Fisher.
And he's going to be up on that stage.
That has changed over the years. Technology is everywhere, including the betting industry. And Chad's going to be talking about that. We're cheering for you, Chad. We love you, Chad.
I thought Chad's like a one-trick pony, and he was just a good like bodyguard for Bigfoot during our speech. But apparently, he's got speaking skills. So
he's got the skills. He can lure Bigfoot to a stage with a bag of jerky, and he's got chops to put on a show after he's already on that stage. So we're excited to see that. And
well, you know who's probably going to be there, Kinsley, is Door Counts.
They will be there.
So it's really funny. I told you about this LinkedIn invite I got, and the whole session was about the future of retail. And the way they built it was the future of retail 2021 sessions. And in the first 5 minutes of that whole experience, I want to call it a podcast, but it was probably more of just a live session. They talked about how critical data was for retailers. So it's making good decisions based on data that So not just sales data, but information on your customers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope that Door Counts guys are watching this, because it's perfect for them. And the great thing about Door Counts is you don't guess at your business anymore. You know who's coming in. You assign them to salespeople, and then you're able to follow up and create that relationship that you and I talk about so often. And the really neat part of that is they've got a 90-day trial going on, and Kinsley, they're going to pay you. So they're going to give you the equipment, right? And they're going to come out and do the install and take care of all of that. But if you don't like what's going on, Big Jerry, you know what he's going to do? He's going to cut you a check. He'll Venmo you if you're like, technology guy, right? He didn't have to cut you a check. He'll just shoot you a Venmo, and you're going to get $150 to give back the equipment. So it's a pretty good deal. It's one of those no lose situations.
You told me they keep the camera, but I mean, it's between you and Jerry at that point.
Oh yeah. Well, Jerry's a sweet guy. He'll work with you. But anyway,
don't put the data.
Gotta have the data. Gotta have the data. Everybody loves. Gotta have the data. You think that they'll use that in any commercials?
There's a freebie for you.
That's free for them. All right. Well, check them out, guys. Door Counts. You gotta know, if you don't have the information, you're not going where you need to be, or the opportunity is less than what it could be. So check them out.
Are you ready to drive more foot traffic?
I figured let's just do our foot traffic driver right off the top today, because one of the submissions was from a Nationwide member named Stacy Cornett.
Oh, Stacy.
We have it in the book. We have it in the book here. And I thought this is a really cool thing, because we talk a lot about location, and I know the retail location is a big deal. You want to be at the place where people are driving by or people are walking by. And Stacy said she created a cool lighting package in the store to look like a galaxy, and it really grabs people's attention when they're driving by. So yeah, the big arm guy with like the swirling hands, or your 50% off mattress sale sign, those aren't the only ways to grab attention. Use your environment creatively. Thank you so much for that, Stacy. We love driving foot traffic like that. I hit the wrong button.
Did you really?
Hold on, I'm gonna
That's
try
not
another one.
like you. What's wrong with you? Hit another button.
Brought to you by Door Counts, the only known treatment for traffic blindness. Nope, the UPS guy didn't come into your store 5 times today. Those were customers, and you have no idea what happened to them. Door Counts is the cure for traffic blindness. Increase conversions, boost sales, and make customers happy. Visit doorcounts.com today.
I told you we were going to travel through time today. Okay, but here's the deal. You listening right now have already traveled through time, and maybe some of you don't know it. But this past year, 2020, was the great acceleration. And I'm going to share something with you that we really need to pause on and put in context.
Hey, speaking of pause, do you mind if I pause this just 1 second before we get into that?
Yes, I mind. No, go ahead.
Please.
No,
No, it's your show. Two things. Number one, we had a really cool thing happen this week. My sister was talking to a guy in Boston, and it's Randy Wannat, right? He's with Mattress Firm in Boston.
It's Wanat.
It's Wannat, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's Wanat.
Why not? Well, Randy, why not didn't you call us back, Randy?
Why not call us back, Randy?
Why not?
You and left a voicemail. I remember that. So why not call us back?
So Gary told me that, anyway, she told me he listened to the show. So you and I gave Randy a call. And of course, he was probably helping a customer. And no, he didn't call us back, but he did send us a nice text. So it was really cool to reach out to him. And if you enjoy the show or you know people that do, please send us messages and let us know. We love to hear from you guys. So that was really cool. Thank you, Randy, for that. And also, Kinsley, before we get into the content, I think it's worthy of a pause here. We had something really big happen to us this week, and we need to celebrate it, right? So Come Back to Bed. It's been out for a while because of you and this audience. You guys made it a Amazon bestseller inside of like a week, I think, maybe 3 days. Something ridiculous, but the book's been out. We've been doing a book tour podcast and different shows all over the country. We get to sit right in our living room, so I guess that's cool. But anyway, and so the book's been out there for a while, and Forbes Entrepreneur came out, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, and they put it on their list of books to read. There were 8 books, and we were on their list as recommended books to read for 2021. So that was very cool. But then Forbes came out this week, and they put out a list of 8 books. And guess what was number 1 for reading as a recommendation by Forbes magazine for 2021? Just guess which book.
I know the answer to it.
It's Come Back to
Bed. Right.
So
up at
anyway,
the top too, man, which is super cool. And I think that's a testament to the times and how much they're changing, and us putting a focus back on independent retail and saying what we said all along. People walked outside last year whenever everything was shut down, and they saw what a town looks like when the flavor of independent retail is stripped away. And we did not like it. And we wanted that vibrance brought back to our communities. And I think, you take it all the way up to Forbes and Entrepreneur and beyond, and people saw what it means to have a thriving local community. And so I think that had to be a part of it. But it was cool to see the book number 1 on Forbes list. That was really cool. Great job to you in writing part of that book.
Great job to you in writing the other part of that book and keeping me in line. But I think what it also says, Kinsley, is it's relevant, right? They're not going to put a book in there that isn't relevant. And I think they know a lot of retailers out there are looking for help or looking for new ways to create excitement and turn the corner and leave 2020 behind and do new stuff. So anyway, God bless you, Forbes. We love it. And we posted that on LinkedIn. So everyone that came through and said something nice or gave us a like, thank you so much. That was really cool for us. So appreciate y'all. So Kinsley, let's travel back in time or forward in time. Where should we go?
We're going to go back in time, but it's going to come back full circle very quickly. And by the way, if you want to grab the book, Come Back to Bed, just go over to Amazon, type in Come Back to Bed. There's one that has a blue cover. That's ours. And there's one with a shirtless man. That's Quinn's.
No, and do us a favor, leave a review. We'd like to get some more reviews on the book. So hook us up and get the book, read the book. And then if you hate it, that's fine. But leave us a good review if you can.
I told you I was going to tell you who said this quote at the beginning of the show. The quote is, nothing can happen for decades, and then decades can happen in weeks. That was uttered by Scottish MP, member of Parliament, George Galloway. And this is what happened this last year. And I think we need to pump the brakes for a moment. Sometimes it's best before you go forward to define reality. And here's the reality. Here's what happened. At the beginning of 2020, approximately 16% of retail was transacted via digital channels. Let's call it e-commerce. So 16% of retail was going through e-com. So the growth rate for that over the past 10 years was 1% per year. Okay, so from 2009 to 2019, it was growing at a rate of 1% per year. It's pretty slow. Then, in a span of 2 months, from March of 2020 to mid-April, transactions that took place via digital channels jumped up to 27%. So what was growing at a rate of 1% per year now grew 11% in just a couple of months. So all of the, I mean, that's a decade of growth in 2 months. Consumer behavior shifted, but think about this. Had the pandemic not happened, we would have spun around in a circle and woken up in the year 2030. So we've woken up in the year 2030 when it comes to what's happening with transactions via digital channels. And it's not just what's happening in the e-com space, but you really need to think about that. This is a kid that walks into his second grade classroom and looks at his teacher on that first day of school, goes home that night, comes back the next day to school and graduates.
That's the example, right? How about the same kid? You take him out onto the golf course, you give him a bucket of balls, teach him how to swing the club, and the next day he's winning the Masters.
This is a dog that you give a shock collar to, and he looks at it and he's automatically good.
Okay, I like that analogy. So it's just rapid. It's crazy how fast that happened. And I don't think you could have ever anticipated that. And the takeaway for me when you first shared that information was it's a great lesson. How many times, Kinsley, do you think people were told pre-COVID that their online presence was important? The way their website looked mattered. The SEO they were engaged in so that they were found when someone said furniture store near me, mattress store near me. And then the whole e-commerce part of that, right? The ability to transact online. How many people ignored that or didn't lean into that and do the work? And then COVID hits and they were spinning and they were trying to get resources and they're trying to figure out how to still stay alive and do business online. But the guys who were paying attention to trend and decided that they don't want to stay where they are, and they know that you're either always moving backwards or going forward, you're never standing still. We talk about that a lot. And if they had paid attention more to trend and what's going on, then they would have been in a much better situation. It's like the podium stuff we always talk about, just that technology of using their text application to drive revenue into their business. So if you're not paying attention to stuff like that, where are you going to be when it really accelerates? You're going to be left behind.
Apple. This is the most valuable company in the world. You know how long it took Apple to reach $1 trillion in valuation? 42 years. Do you know how long it took them to reach 2 trillion? 20 weeks. Tesla became not only the most valuable car company in the world, it's more valuable than Toyota, Volkswagen, Honda, and toss a couple others in there, all combined. It's whatever was happening previous to this. Think about this. Here's a way to think about this. You're going to have to backtrack. We're going to travel back in time again. And here you are in the year 2019, and somebody says, hey, I want to do a Zoom with you, or I want to do a Google Hangouts, or I want to Skype with you. And you're like, oh, great. I got to do this. And then people are going to see my home office and they're going to think I'm working.
Do you hear music?
Huh?
Do you hear music? Did you hit a button?
No, I don't hear music.
You don't hear music?
No,
I think it's on my side.
it's in your
I'm
head.
sorry. No, it's on my side. I'm like, I had to bring it up because if everyone else could hear it, I didn't want that. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Keep going, Kinsley.
See, this is what happens. Technology slows us down at some point. But if you
No,
go back
anyway,
to 2019,
go
like how
where
many
you-
people
Okay.
stop punching buttons, by the way. I know you.
I'm done.
I know you
It's a
soft typing
website that
over
was
here.
up. Nope.
He's a soft typer.
I'm not soft typing. I just happened. I had a website open.
He gets a
and some
faraway
thing-
look in his eyes and he starts soft typing.
Stop.
I know what he's doing. I know what
Yeah,
he's
no,
doing.
I'm right here, man. I'm right here.
I'm right here. So, but think about that. I mean, back in 2018, 2019, if somebody wanted to have a video conference with you, you're like, can we just talk on the phone? You know, like doctors seeing patients over apps. It's like, I'll just go to the doctor. And then all of it, decades happened in weeks. Online education, things were trending in that direction. Now it's the order of the day. So all of these things have just like, boom, like you woke up in the year 2030 and you didn't even know it in so many different ways. So what are we going to do with that information? Okay, so what happens when you wake up 10 years down the road? Well, a couple of things can happen. Number one, we're trying to define reality, which is what we're doing right now. And I don't think we are far enough along to really have a sense of how things are going to shake out if they ever do shake out. But the first instinct is for a lot of people to get up to speed. And then a lot of people overcorrect. And you just end up trying to figure out how to get back to what's normal or what's reasonable because of the overcorrection. I'm not just talking about the markets. And so, here in our industry, we talk a lot about not playing somebody else's game because they're going to be better at it than you. But what game do you play when you wake up in the year 2030 and the digital revolution happened in the blink of an eye? Is it just about having a good website where you can transact business? Or is there something deeper and more meaningful that we need to be talking about and teasing out? I think this is the time to do it. I mean, this is a fluid conversation.
Well, I don't know. I take something positive from this too, right? I mean, I liken it to even where you and I are with this show. So we did 100 episodes before we ever added sponsors to the show, right? And then the acceleration, Kinsley, of the Dos Marcos podcast, the growth in the audience, all that stuff. What happened in the next 100 shows was drastically different. And I would even rewind it and say to you that what's happened in the last 12 months is drastically different. And so the encouraging piece to this is no matter what you're doing, no matter what business you're working on in your market, the seeds that you're planting now, even though you may not see an immediate return on that, if you keep doing those things and the consistency over time, it's kind of one of the things where it's like all of a sudden, and there's like a celebrity joke, right? Like I was famous overnight, and it only took me 10 years of waiting tables and taking shit jobs at, installing carpet or whatever it was. And then they became a huge success as an actor. It's an investment of time. And so for a lot of those people, it is that, but then for others, to your point with this, it can happen overnight. And so either way, you just have to be paying attention and investing in what you do to anticipate what's coming, right? And there's no secret what happened with, like digital commerce and all that stuff. That wasn't just created out of thin air. Like people had been talking about that for a long time. So the writing was on the wall. So you just have to pay attention to what's happening and trends and do some vision casting and looking into the future.
Here's the issue though. What was trending in whatever direction got better or it got worse.
Mm-hmm.
So people with professional jobs, their lives got better. People making $40,000 a year or less, 40% of them were laid off. So the divide, the chasm, this yawn in society has expanded. And I think it's really important to understand that. So if we're talking about things getting better, technology advancing, or firms that were doing well, doing better. But the people that weren't doing well, it's going to get worse for them. And so what do we do? What do we do with that information? What in the mattress business do we talk about? The low end business. I mean, is that where the conversation goes? We talk about the low end business. Do we talk about the reshoring of a lot of these units that were previously being sold and shipped in out of China, and then were being dumped into these other countries like Vietnam and Malaysia? But look, we woke up in the year 2030. Did you ever see the movie with Luke Wilson that he woke up in the year like 2550?
I love Luke Wilson though.
Yeah. So it was I'll think of the name of it. Somebody right now sitting there going, Kinsley, come on, it's called blank. But he woke up in the year 2550, and he was surrounded by people that were just complete idiots. It's called Idiocracy.
Idiocracy, 2006, Kinsley.
Yeah. And so the beginning of the movie is my favorite part, because it's like this really like nice, calm, normal couple, and they're very thoughtful, and they're like, we're thinking about having kids, but we're just not sure. And then it cuts over to like this trailer park, and this guy's chasing this woman's chasing him out of one trailer and into another trailer and saying, you slept with my sister and you have babies with all these other people. And cuts back to the couple, and they're sitting over there going, well, it's been 5 years and we're still thinking about having kids, and we're not sure. We're waiting for this to happen and that to happen. Cuts back to the trailer park. They've got 15 more kids, and people are chasing, wearing wife beaters, and it's just a mess. And it just reminded me of like, what if you play these things out, and you look, we're getting a glimpse into 2030. So what if you play these things out, and the big get bigger, which they will, because they have the capital and the strength to survive, but things that were trending maybe in a negative direction get worse. What's the world that we wake up in, and how does it impact our business and our industry?
So go with that, right? So what happens if we let the mattress review sites that are full of crap and not serving the interest of the consumer? What happens if we let them run, right? And continue to impact the industry in a really negative way that's not at all in the best interest of the consumer? So think about that. If all you're doing right now, or the majority of what you're doing right now, is talking about product, price, and promotion, same drum we beat all the time, and then the evolution of sleep as an important health issue as it relates to mental and physical health, mostly now because of COVID, what happens when your competitor starts leaning into that message and they start creating an authority because they talk about that stuff in social media? They get their sales force educated and somehow certified that they know something about sleep and how to improve sleep for human beings. What happens when all that goes on? Are you going to be left in the dust and be seen as a follower because you didn't see it coming, right? And so I think that stuff, I think the whole sleep issue we're seeing, I think that's accelerating at a really rapid rate, as an example. So, it's one of those things that it's easy to stick your head in the sand on some of this stuff. But the examples we're talking about today, where it happens so quickly, or things can happen so quickly, man, you got to be on board. You got to be ready for those transitions.
Hey, speaking of sleep, what do you think about this?
It's time to become a sleep superhero.
When customers come into your store, it's your chance once every decade to educate them about better sleep and help them realize a transformation, right? Instead of just a transaction, you can help them transform their lives. And one way to do that is by educating them about sleep, so they can take that back to their house with that brand new mattress and start getting the rest they deserve. And here's one thing I think is really important to impress upon people. Your sleep needs are biological. You can't fudge them. Yeah, you can get by on less, but it's not what you need to be fully awake and to be restored and to be living your best life. Albert Einstein, the genius. We were talking about the boy genius earlier. He's 8 years old and he's 18. Albert Einstein famously said, I need more than 10 hours of sleep every night. President Calvin Coolidge, he demanded 11 hours of sleep every night. And that's because your sleep needs are biological. You're born with them, just like you're born with blue eyes or hazel eyes, just like you are the height that you are. They're biological. And so don't try to mess with them, and help customers understand it's really important to understand your baseline sleep needs. I mean, you sent me that video about Jeff Bezos the other day, the CEO, or now former CEO of Amazon. Him saying he needs 8 hours of sleep every night. I was so encouraged by that, because now leaders in the world aren't pretending like they do nothing but work and never sleep.
Well, there's no badge to that anymore. Used to be. Not anymore. Not anymore. Kinsley, to wrap all this up and to be thinking about like how we can serve this audience, I think for me, it goes to encouraging people to be inspired. You know, like, don't stop looking outside of the industry. Look at these stories about Tesla and Apple. And, you know, maybe you're not trying to accelerate your growth to that degree, but, you know, to be paying attention even to consumer trends or even things that they're doing to grow that business. I don't know. I just think it's so, it's, we're at a time where, you know, okay, so a lot of companies, Kinsley, during COVID, they had to reduce their sales force, or they had to reduce the operations people, or the manufacturing side. And so what happens with the big bosses, right? They look at their people and they go, okay, Jimmy, Janet, and Stacy are my three. Who's the strongest player, right? And then you cut the other two that aren't the strongest player. Guess what? Consumers going to do the same thing with companies that they choose to do business with. And so if you're not reading books like Come Back to Bed, right, where we're talking about connecting human beings to your business in a way that makes them fall in love with what you do, if you're not doing that kind of stuff, you're going to get cut out of the list of places they want to go to shop, because they don't need to come to your store if they can do it just as easy online. If you're not adding value and seeing some of that future stuff coming at you, then it's not going to matter.
Well, I think for me, we talked really big picture. We talked about time traveling forward and ending up in the year 2030. And many of us didn't even know it. So what do you do? I mean, you just mapped out some things that I think are helpful in how we frame our mentality, how we focus ourselves. I would add, pay attention to what's right in front of you. You don't have to go on the internet to search for answers. You don't have to dig into what's happening with big business. Step out your front door, step out the door of your business, look around and see what's happening. See who you can connect with and how you can deepen those connections in your communities. And I think with all the big stuff that's happening in the world and this time travel that we talked about, it's never been more critical or more desired, I think, for us to connect with those around us in a meaningful way. And that's your advantage. And I think it's going to continue to be an advantage. And what can happen is, sure, you can figure out ways to scale that. You can figure out ways to scale it. But man, I tell you, there's a lot of magic into stepping out your front door. And I look out my front door, and you want to think about what's happening. There's a 6-story building going in like 3 blocks away, that literally the outside of it is an elevating bike path that you can ride to the top of this 6-story building. What's happening here? Bike culture. I mean, you want to talk about accelerants. I mean, every city in the country was moving toward electric cars and bike paths. And all of a sudden, whenever everything's shut down, the skies cleared, people were on bikes, and now towns and communities are moving in that direction. So just pay attention to what's in front of you, because I think it's both fulfilling and it's also indicative of where things are going for you and for your town and your community.
Some of the stuff we say in during our shows, we can be very direct and maybe even stark and hard. And for some of you listening to this, it might piss you off. And if it does, my guess is it's true for you. And that stuff isn't easy to hear. So if it fires you up, if it rattles your cage, that's probably something internal saying to you, pay attention. And guys, when we talk about this stuff, we do it because we love all of you. We love this audience. We love this industry. And our purpose, every time we turn these mics on, is to help and serve you guys with information we get. We might be wrong for sure, but we feel good about it. We feel right. And we're putting it forward because we think it'll help. So anyway, we are so grateful for you. We appreciate everyone listening. Go to mattresspodcast.com and make sure you subscribe, leave us a review. We would be eternally grateful. And just remember, stay focused, keep positive. The rest of 2021 is looking good, Kinsley.
Thumbs up. Hey, times are changing. We know they are changing. But during times of transition, that's where the opportunity really exists. We talked about that in our nationwide speech when we gave the keynote. Transitions give you a chance for transformations, both within yourself and with people who come into your store. So, hey, as this transition continues, we are trying to curate ideas and information that help contextualize that transformation. And we want to hear from you too. So drop us a note. Let us know what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're thinking. And we like to distill that down and bring it back to this bigger audience.
Thanks for being part of our family, everybody. Thanks for listening and have a fantastic week.